So Patrick, what did you think of The Vast of Night?
Well, I'll start first by saying, like, the ending. This is a small, independent movie. You kind of expect movies like this to end in this kind of, like, I don't want to call it a non-ending, but a bit of an anticlimax. Like, so I'm not going to complain about that. Overall, I mean, I do like the movie. I'll just kind of reiterate what I was saying earlier. I'm really impressed by the movie, the look of the movie. It's gorgeously shot. It's really well directed. The acting from the two leads, outstanding. But that's kind of where my enjoyment ends, other than a few sequences that are like really, really good. For the most part, like, I don't find this movie that entertaining, even though it is good.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I think that's going to come back when you ask me a certain question that you ask me at the end of every podcast. I agree with you. The ending for me, well, I mean, I have two main gripes about this movie, and one of them is the ending.
Okay.
I don't know if it was really rushed or something, but it just seems like it was kind of rushed, and I'm left wondering, like, why did Faye run out of the car and into the woods?
Well, okay, you know? I have something to add to that, because the thing that I don't understand why this is in there, why is the sister there?
Yeah, I don't get that
Get rid
either.
of the baby sister. We don't need that, and it just makes the ending a little bit more, like, kind of sad. I mean,
yeah,
they took the sister too? Why do we even need the sister in here?
I just don't get it, and every time I watch it, I just get more annoyed by the last, like, 2 minutes of it, because I'm just like, why does this need to be in here? There's really no need for it. And then I think even before they get into this couple's car from out of town or whatever, Faye realizes that the babysitter is actually home, and she was just on the roof trying to see through the clouds at this flying saucer or this ship. So it's like, you could have just brought your baby sister back home.
Or just not have the baby sister. That didn't really need to be part of the film.
Yeah, just don't write it in. But yeah, so that's really one of my main gripes. My other one is the cutting to that kind of bluey tube television screen. I like it at the beginning for the introduction of, like, that kind of Twilight Zone theme.
Yeah.
And I like it when Everett's talking to Billy, and it kind of, that the camera cuts to that bluey screen, but there's like a radio on the screen, like an old-timey 30s, 40s radio. Yeah. And I like that. But then I think there's two times in the movie that it cuts to that, and they're both in shots that have to do with Faye. And the first one is when she shows up at the switchboard, and for some reason it's just that bluey filter over it, and I don't know why. She's just having a conversation with the switchboard operator who's already there,
right?
And I'm like, I don't know why that needs to be like that. And then the other time it happens is when she starts running somewhere, I think, like to the library to get the tapes. I think that's
probably,
it. And I'm like, why does that need to happen? And then she goes into her house and she gets like a pan to hold the tapes or something, and then when she exits, it goes back to blue, and I was just like, I don't know why that needs to be like that. But everything else I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, I loved the Twilight Zone intro. I loved all the opening establishing shots of the gym and the town. I loved the score.
The music is strange to me, because there's a few moments, and I looked this up on IMDb, because, like, one of these musical cues, it's like, this sounded really familiar, and there's this part, I can't remember if it's the radio or the switchboard, but it's like someone has a microphone to their face, and there's like, that scene was like ending, and it kind of wrapped up with this like Spanish kind of sounding guitar. And I've heard that before, haven't I? And I like looked it up, because it didn't sound 50s to me. It sounded like 67. It sounded like kind of psychedelic to me. And I didn't find the answers. Maybe I hadn't heard that before, and it just reminded me of something else. I'll say the score was interesting. I thought early on I didn't much care for it. Later on, I thought the score was really good towards the end of the movie. So I don't know if it was just a matter of I had to get used to the score a bit, or it might have just been I liked the music that they were doing at the end, and it felt like it worked and enhanced the movie better than it did at the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, well, even at the beginning, there's a score where it's like people clapping their hands, and then like a 50s guitar riff or something. I really like that for all the interviewing scenes at the beginning. And there's also, I guess it's not really a score, but the sound, like that alien sound, like that clicking, I really like that. And that reminds me, because you and I spoke about this before, but that reminds me of the of the alien clicking noises in Signs.
Oh, I don't remember noises in Signs. I don't remember much about
clicked.
That movie.
I don't remember if it was they came over the radio or the television, but they clicked. But then,
so
I mean, for me, the highlight.
Off M. Night, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, he's fucking washed up. No offense, M. Night.
No, take offense.
This director
please.
might have some life in him. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I confess I have not seen any of the films from the so-called Shyamalan-essence, the Split and those. I haven't seen those movies.
Yeah, I haven't either.
I have faith that Split is at least better than his other shit, but I don't know. We need that phrase, though. Like, McConaissance is like, everybody knows that word, right? We need a Shyamalan-essence, but maybe he needs to make a couple more really good movies before that's truly in the cultural zeitgeist.
And a couple good movies in a row. Like, come on. Going back to The Fast of Night, though, I don't know about you, but for me, the three standout scenes are the switchboard scene, the scene with Billy on the phone at the radio station, and the scene with Mabel in her house. Those are my three favorite, most engrossing scenes.
For me, it's mainly just the Billy scene. Not that I don't like the others, but the Billy scene to me is on a pedestal far above the other two.
Now, and I think I looked this up, and I think the actor who gave the voice of Billy and the actress who played Mabel, I think they're both stage actors from, like, the Austin area of Texas.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting, too, and I think that kind of maybe shines through with the actress who plays Mabel. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think this is one of my favorite movies I've seen in a while, but more favorite for what you brought up because it's technically interesting and stunning in scenes. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, I think there's movies I enjoy watching more, but this one I just like putting on the TV and looking at it.
Right, yeah. This is one of those examples of, like, I mean, this director, clearly very talented. I would be curious to see him do a movie. I'm sure the next movie, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure, because I don't know how many people have actually seen this movie. Not as many as should, I'm sure. But I would imagine his next movie has a bigger budget. But I would like to see him just working with a more interesting story. I think his story is, probably because the movie is so low budget, the story is kept very, very subtle here. And I think that's what kind of makes the ending, what you were talking about, it's kind of just like, how did we get here? This is a little weird. If he can still keep his subtleties as a director and just have a story that's more expanded upon, if that makes any sense. I think there's a good chance that I like this guy's second movie more than I like this one, even though I do like this one.
I agree with you. I would like to see what he could do with a larger budget. And I'm sure if he did have a larger budget, well, and again, I'm not even sure to say I'm sure, because I think one of the things that makes this movie work is that it is his vision and it is the way he wanted it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like there were three writers, but I think he was the main writer. I think he probably had two other writers just to kind of tidy up whatever he didn't feel like tidying up almost.
Well, and I think we can't really speculate on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But I mean, I think being a director-writer, again, I've seen this footage of him riding around on this little go-kart with this camera setup thing in front of him. And, I don't know. I think that's one of the things that makes this movie work for me. It's just that it is this one singular thing, and it's how he told it. There's no, like, big explosions, and, like, sure, the spaceships at the end of the movie look a little cheesy and silly.
They didn't look as bad as I would, you tell me that this movie was made for $700,000 and you look at it and you see that, okay, maybe most of the budget probably went to setting up some of these complicated shots and or these costumes and cars and stuff. I would have expected the UFOs to look a lot worse than they actually do. Not that they look great.
Yeah, good movie. I enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, so check it out on Prime Video if you so desire.